Thanks for joining me. Today, what we're going to talk about is baby walking. Why is baby walking important for me and you? You might be saying to me, Rob, I don't even have a baby. That's fine if you don't have a baby. No big deal. Let me check these headphones real fast. The idea is how much effort and how dedicated is a baby to learning how to walk, right? When you see a baby learn how to walk, or go from the stages of laying on its back to rolling over to getting on its hands and knees, getting that balance on its hands and knees to learn how to crawl forward, learning how to crawl and then reaching a spot where they learn they can reach up and grab a hold of something and pull themselves up. Then the baby gets up and it's like weebling and wobbling as it's trying to stand, and it's finally learning how. It's like, wow, I finally learned how to get to this spot. I pulled myself up from the crawling position. Now I'm hobbling and bobbling here. I'm standing, to letting go of that table or whatever that thing is and standing, the baby's standing on its own. I mean, if you don't have kids, this might not be as powerful for you. Maybe go to YouTube and watch a video on babies learning how to walk. I'm sure there's a million of those, and they probably have 1 billion views. But it's a fascinating thing to watch as a parent, because we forget, obviously. We don't remember learning how to walk. But when you watch a baby go through the process of learning how to walk, it's fascinating, the dedication. So the baby or toddler or whatever is up and balanced and not holding on to that, whatever that thing was that they were balancing themselves up on before. Now they're free and they're standing, and they go to take those first steps and they fall, and they go to take those second steps and they fall and fall and fall, and over and over and over again. There's failure all along the way. Now, I don't like to look at things as failure. My man Tai Lopez always talks about there is no failure. There's only experiments. There's only failure if you quit doing something. So if you try something and you give up, that's failing. But if you try something and then it doesn't work out, and you try it again, doesn't work out, try it again, doesn't work out, until you finally get it right. Like Thomas Edison creating the light bulb. It's like 10,000 experiments or something like that. All of those little things we might perceive in our society as failures are actually just experiments. And for a baby, all of those trials and tribulations of going from laying on their back to rolling over, lots of trial, lots of experiments to finally roll over, to figure out how it's done, from getting to that belly first position to picking their head up and then getting up on all fours. That's a level of experiments, right? And then from getting up on their hands and knees to actually crawling, actually moving around and crawling on the floor. Those are experiments as well. That's a baby going through a series of experiments to learn how to crawl. And how many failures are in there? How many times did that baby not successfully roll over? How many times did it not successfully get up onto its hands and knees? How many times did it not successfully finally learn how to start crawling, and then to pull itself up and stand to finally get to that spot? Like, imagine that level to where the baby's probably so excited. Like, I finally got up off my hands and knees. I'm finally holding myself up, and I'm upright. Like the rest of humanity, all the people that I see around me, all these other humans, whether they're kids or adults, they're all bigger than me. They're all standing above me. They're all walking. I want to walk too. So they finally get themselves pulled up, and they can start taking those steps to walk. And that's usually when the most failure happens, falling over and over and over again, bashing their head on things, crashing into stuff. Their parents are trying to get them, come on over here, come on, walk to me, and the baby's trying to walk, and it can't quite do it, and it falls, and it falls, and it falls, but it keeps getting back up, and it keeps trying again. So I don't know how this sounds to you. I know that when I first heard this, I didn't really take much account of the significance of it, but then when you apply it to anything in your life that you're trying to do, you got to take those baby steps. It goes back, if you recall the movie, the Bill Murray classic, if you've never seen What About Bob, go back and watch What About Bob. But the movie's a lot about baby steps. Bob goes to this psychologist, which is Richard Dreyfuss, and Richard Dreyfuss talks to Bob about taking baby steps. You got to take these, before you learn how to run, you got to learn how to walk. Before you learn how to walk, you got to learn how to stand. You got to take tiny little baby steps all along the way. So I think about that and apply it to lots of things that I do in my life where I feel like I'm not moving fast enough, where I've tried something and it didn't work, and I failed it again, and I failed again, and I failed again. I'm like, wow, I'm moving slowly. In reality, I'm moving just at the right pace. Not moving too fast, not moving too slow. It's the right pace for me. You'll have the right pace for you. We all have a different pace, especially depending on the thing we're trying to do. Is it in our wheelhouse? Is it not in our wheelhouse? If it's not in our wheelhouse, it's going to take longer. If it is in our wheelhouse, we might gravitate and grab onto it and get it a little more quickly. When you find yourself getting discouraged about something that you just started, or something you've been doing for a couple of months, how long does it take a baby to go from laying on its back to full-fledged walking? How long does that usually take? A year? Some babies it takes a year and a half. Like, that's the time scale you got to think of this stuff in, okay? Because really, when they talk about changing habits, developing new habits, and really getting those habits cemented in your brain to where you're really in a system with them and they just kind of happen, you don't have to really think about them anymore, then you're actively doing them on a daily basis. That's like a year to 18 months to when something's finally fully implemented in your brain from you trying to do it every day or a couple of days a week. It's going to take about a year to year and a half for that actually to stick, just like it would for a baby to walk. So we can take ourselves back and think, I'm way smarter than a baby is now. Well, sure, you have more information than a baby does now. But when you start something new, you might as well just be a baby. You might as well just remember, listen, I'm just learning how to roll over. And I'll give you a perfect example just in my own life, just so I can give you some practical examples on this. I left my job in radio a year and a half ago. I'm actually back on the radio now, and I'll get there in a second. But I left my job in radio a year and a half ago to start this internet marketing company. And those first 6 months were hell. They were tough, and I was depressed, and it was stressful. And I equate that to probably what it's like for a baby learning how to get their bearings straight, learning how to pull themselves up. Except a baby doesn't get depressed. A baby's just like optimistic about it. Like, oh, I fell down. I'm just going to go and do it again. Now, as we get older in life, obviously, we have more layers on the onion. So the layers of expectations and of, looking at people online who might be doing it better than you, people who are already there. You may have a family to support. You may have a job that you had to get out of. You may have, you may just have a lifestyle that is different than what it is whenever you were a baby. A lot more is going on in your life. I would hope so. Hopefully it's not the same as when you were a baby. But I think that the message stays the same. So me starting in this business in the first 6 months were super stressful, and then I got my first couple of clients, started to get my legs underneath me, started to learn how to crawl. I rolled over, I learned how to crawl, and then I got bigger clients, and then I started doing more marketing for myself, and then I started to sell myself and put myself out there more and put my face on my business and really attach myself to it and get more expertise. And I paid lots of money to go through lots of training courses and lots of online videos to really teach myself what it is that I need to know to be the best at my profession. And then to get to this point where I'm shooting these videos, being able to talk about this. I'm about a year and a half into the process right now, maybe a little bit more than a year and a half at this point. Probably past the 18-month mark, or right around the 18th month mark. I'm not going to try to do the numbers in my head right now because I'm just kind of freestyling this. But the point is, I'm walking now. I feel like a year and a half in, I'm walking in my business. I've got the internet marketing, the digital marketing set up to where it's running fairly well. I'm still slow on it. I'm still probably letting a few things fall through the cracks. I'm still a little clunky. There's still a lot of things that I need to accomplish and that I need to set in place, the systems I need to get in place. But the basis of what I'm doing is there. I'm walking. Not well, but I'm walking. Now I'm back into radio, right? So my show's on Mix 94.7. You can go to mymix947.com and listen live there, 3 to 7 Eastern, 3p to 7p Eastern, Monday through Friday. I'm back on the radio now with that. So that's really, I look at that like, wow, okay, I've got myself up, I'm balanced, I'm starting to walk, and now I can start to reapply the things that I've known in the past and reapply those things to my new situation here now. And that's why I see radio as like a place to come in and go back into something that I was in for a long time and now reapply that and put it into perspective with my new digital marketing company and a new way of advertising myself. And this is all just the process. Like, I feel like right now I'm just at that walking phase where I'm walking. My parents aren't like standing there waiting to catch me when I fall. They're letting me go. They're like, you're doing well. You're coasting, right? And maybe when you're building a business or whatever it is, like maybe you get a mentor, maybe you team up with some people, maybe you go through some online programs, maybe you learn things, right? That's like the the learning process of that year and a half of getting yourself up. Not saying you should ever stop learning. You shouldn't. Just like a baby going from walking to running, that baby's going to have to learn how to run then. And then think about riding a bike. That child's going to have to learn how to ride a bike. Somebody's going to have to teach them. They're going to have a mentor there to help them along the way. Hopefully they have that, and hopefully you have that for whatever it is that you're doing. So whether you're starting a business, if it's your personal brand, if it's just something new that you're trying out, maybe you're starting to learn a new instrument, maybe you're starting to, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just think that thing that's new to you in your life that you're trying to get through. It's painful, and it might be stressful, and there might be some fear and doubt because you're starting something new. But remember, that baby didn't have doubt and fear and stress. Like, that baby just went for it. Maybe a little bit of fear in there, right? Maybe had a fear of falling. Maybe they had a bad experience. They bumped their head and they're a little afraid, but they got over it. They learned how to walk. They learned how to do that thing they knew how to do, and they did it. What's the difference between that and you? What's the difference between that baby and me? Like, I've given up on a lot of things. You may have given up on a lot of things. Maybe you haven't, but I'm just saying that if you stick with it, it's going to really pay off, because you're going to finally get your legs underneath you, and then you can start running. Then you can start taking off, and then you just become an expert at what you do. We're all experts at walking. You might trip every once in a while. You might stumble and fall down, but I'd say 90% of us, 95, 99% of us listening or watching this, we're experts at walking. We figured that part out, I would hope. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave this for right now. That's my point really is just to say, man, you've got to look at those things that you're starting out, those things that you're just starting to do, that you're practicing, that you're working on. You're taking baby steps, and it's going to take a while. Just don't give up. If that baby would have given up on walking, that baby would be crawling its whole life. You don't see any grown adults crawling around on the floor unless they've lost a contact lens or something like that. But besides that fact, nobody's crawling around. We've all stood up. We've all learned how to walk. We've all learned how to run, ride a bike. Some of us, not all of us, I guess. But keep that in your mind. It's going to be like that. It's going to be slow. That year and a half is expected. Expect that. If it happens faster, often, awesome. But expect it to take a while. That's a good thing. That means you're really taking the time to put in the practice to get it right. Just like a baby did when it was learning how to walk. It took in the time, it took in the practice to get it right. I hope this helped you. I hope maybe this helps you today if you're frustrated about something. Because I heard it today from my man Tony Robbins. He was talking about it. I wanted to just reiterate it and put it out in my own words so I could remember it. Hopefully you could remember it as well. Remember, I designed this podcast to teach myself things that I wish I would have learned when I was younger. I wish somebody would have taught me this when I was younger. This would have been really important when I was younger. It would have really helped me a lot. So hopefully, I know it helps me talking about it. Hopefully it helped you in some way, shape, or form. If it did, please reach out to me on any social media platform. Facebook and Instagram is Rob Z Radio. Twitter is Rob Z Yo. Or you can just go to robzradio.com. All of my information, all my links, my contact list is right there. So you can contact me at robzradio.com. Thank you so much for listening. And I just hope this had some sort of impact on you.